How's it going, everyone? I have another crazy deck list for you to play in ranked that's going to get you fast wins. Before I throw the deck list up there, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and that you liked the video. On the last video, 80% of you were not subscribed. So if that is you, please consider doing so. And while you're importing into Pokemon Pocket, if you want to, leave the video running. Helps boost the watch time, helps YouTube keep promoting it. All ways to support the channel without giving me anything, really. Okay, so we are playing 14 Pokemon, no Pokeballs. This is Arceus Daycare to the extreme. We are taking the god of Pokemon and pairing it with 8 babies and saying, you know what, dude? Just as you intended, Arceus, we're going to help you destroy the ladder. We have a couple things going on with the list. We have 5 baby Pokemon, all dedicated to powering up that Arceus. You could play whatever versions you want. I like the Mantike and the Pichu. I don't really like Magby as a Pokemon, so I go Mantike and Pichu, and then the one of Magby there. Our other baby Pokemon. 1 Smoochum, 2 Tyrogue. Tyrogue does 20 damage for free. Smoochum does 20 damage times the amount of energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. Why are they here? We need an answer to Oricorio. The Smoochum is only going to be relevant when we are playing against an attacking Oricorio deck, because it essentially will do the same thing against an Oricorio that has all energy built up on it. Look at that. You can see how fast that win was, bro. I didn't even take a point and he left. The Smoochum will do essentially the same thing. It'll do 40 damage. A Darkrai Ping will make it now do 60 damage, and a Giovanni will take it up to 70. That'll knock out the Oricorio. Tyrogue, it's going to do 20, plus 20 for weakness. Darkrai Ping plus Giovanni, that's that extra 30. 40 plus 30 equals 70. That's how we deal with Oricorio. Our other Pokemon, Darkrai. As I've said, Darkrai's here to boost the damage of all of our attackers by attaching an energy to it and getting that extra 20. Arceus, just a colorless Pokemon that hits for 130. Very, very good number. Snorlax, same thing. We're not playing any Pokeball. We're playing so many Pokemon. We need to see either an Arceus or a Snorlax on turn 1. Snorlax isn't the best, right? He needs 4 energy attached to him. That just is 1 additional turn before you can start attacking. And so we don't love that he's here, but he needs to be here. He is the only Pokemon that fits the role of guy that can do 130 damage and also can utilize dark energy and is basic, right? Like, Snorlax is just the guy for the job. Unfortunately, you oftentimes want to prioritize the Arceus over the Snorlax. It's very rare that you want to use the Snorlax. But if you have to, you know, he can get the job done. A nice thing about him is that you don't need a full bench. So if you're up against a Suicune, you can just have a board state of your 1 baby Pokemon that was charging up the Snorlax and your Snorlax. And then Suicune's not going to be hitting for too much. Snorlax is going to heal itself between after your turn, so it might get a little bit more longevity if that's even necessary. It also can't be one-shot by a Giratina in the Greninja Suicune list unless they get double Greninja out. So that's another perk, but realistically, you don't ever want to prioritize Snorlax. You want to be going Arceus and letting him carry the rest of the deck for you. Okay, so no Pokeball. Why no Pokeball? Well, when you're playing 14 Pokemon, the Pokeball is essentially useless. Pokeball is really good for when you're playing any other normal deck and you have normal counts of Pokemon and you want to get a specific Pokemon. The Pokeball is like, dude, we play research, we get 2 Pokemon. We're going to draw Pokemon. Pokeball is not going to help us find the Pokemon that we need, so it's better to just have a lot of copies of everything and say, well, mathematically, we will probably draw into the Pokemon we need at around the time that we need them. Now, you see here, I'm playing against a Tapu Koko deck, likely Tapu Koko with, 2 Koko, 2 Oricorio. And this is something you really need to make sure you're doing. In any deck that can play Oricorio, it is very, very important that you have a Tyrogue in play. You don't want to board lock yourself. There's no Sabrinas. There's no Repels. There's nothing. If there's an Oricorio in the active spot, you're going to have to deal with it. Tapu Koko might not necessarily be a deck where, well, they can attack with Oricorio. So scratch exactly what I was just about to say. we had the Giovanni in hand, so we can take that knockout on Oricorio. And even here, even without the Giovanni, well, I've taken out one of them. I don't really feel pressure to do anything but attach the Darkrai, swing for 40 with Tyrogue, leave this Oricorio with 10 damage. Another way you can take out the Oricorios after the Tyrogue has failed, if I don't find another Tyrogue or a Smoochum, is I can just Darkrai ping it to death. And look at that. My opponent concedes because he sees the writing on the wall. He's got no ways to keep that Oricorio alive. And then I have the Arceus in the back ready to go. Another thing. While I'm going first, not as important because I'm going first in this game, but if you're going second, you really, I don't care if you have Arceus Darkrai in hand. If you do not have another Pokemon to prevent a repel play from scamming you, you do not play it. You do not put those Pokemon down, okay? It's fine when the Arceus gets energy on it, because then you can just attach, retreat, and whatever, it sets you back a turn, but it is what it is. Otherwise, imagine you're playing against Suicune and you're going second, and you start with Mantike and you bench Arceus, and then they go repel, which is very, very common for them. Suicune's also not really playing red card anymore. It's usually a 1 Mars, 1 repel build as their way to slow their opponent down. If you get repelled in that circumstance, the game's almost certainly over. You cannot allow yourself to get repelled at any point that would be extremely detrimental to you. You want to make sure that at least one of your 2 retreat Pokemon has an energy attached to it. Otherwise, I mean, things are not going to look good for you. Now, I'm playing against a weird deck here. I saw the Tyrogue and thought, oh, hey, a mirror match. And then I see a Sneasel get benched. It's very curious, very curious. I mostly put this in here because it seems like a cool deck I kind of want to try. Let me know in the comments if any of you guys have tried a Tyrogue Weavile deck, because it just seems cool. I don't know how good it could be, but yeah, it seems like a really, really interesting deck. Now, what would I change about this list? I wouldn't change a thing. And here's why. This build of this deck is essentially its own thing. There are other Arceus Darkrai decks. There are other Arceus Darkrai decks that play Snorlax and Tyrogue. But the way that this list is built, as soon as you start to change a single card, you have to change a lot of things. I did see another list that opted for 1 less Giovanni for a Pokemon Center Lady. I could see 1 less Giovanni for a Guzma. A couple different things you could do, but as far as, oh, we can take out one, we can take out the Magby and just go with 4 of the baby Pokemon and put something else in. Maybe you could get away with that, but if you say, I want to put Pokeballs in this list, whatever, you have to drastically change it. Again, there are versions of this deck that play that way, and they play, the 4 babies like you usually do, 2 Tyrogues, 2 Pokeballs, maybe just 2 Reds, or a Red and a Giovanni, and then they have room for stuff like Leaf, Repel, Giant Cape, all of that other stuff. That's not what this deck is. This deck is, hey, I'm playing 14 Pokemon. I think it's good enough that I will be hitting, the odds that I hit for 140 damage at least every turn are pretty high, and I think that's good enough to just win games. I think that's all we need. We don't need repels. We don't need giant capes, whatever. If I just do that aggressively, my opponent probably won't have any way to respond to that, and that will give me enough to win. So, playing this deck, it's a bit high rolly. I mean, you kind of need things to work. Or I guess this deck isn't necessarily high roll. It's gonna do what it wants to do pretty consistently. You're really only going to lose if your opponent hits a little bit higher variance. Obviously, it can still brick and that'll happen, but from my experience, it's not too likely. It's been performing pretty well as I played it. I went on a bit of a win streak with it as well. You really just need to hope that your opponent doesn't high roll. In all of these games, you can point out something where it's like, oh, if this is my opponent's hand, I lose. Straight up. If my opponent has Rare Candy Greninja plus a Cyrus, pull up like my Darkrai in this circumstance, like I'm debating it right now because I'm thinking, if my opponent has Rare Candy, Cyrus, Greninja, what am I going to do? My Darkrai is going to be trapped, and I'm going to have to manually attach to it to get it out of the active spot. It's probably not going to be too great for me. That is a way I could have lost this game. Oh, another thing. I don't know if I mentioned it already. I've recorded this twice now because I wasn't recording the other time. When you're playing against Suicune or any deck that can play Oricorio, make sure you have space for a Tyrogue, okay? I won't spend too much time on it, but you can get bench locked and your opponent will just set up all they want to, and then there's really nothing you can do about it. Because they, like if you're playing against Suicune, they're going to build up their Greninjas, they're going to build up their Giratinas, they can just then go Greninja ping a baby twice, and then set up for a Greninja ping on Arceus plus Cyrus, and you lose the game. So you always need to have a Tyrogue on the bench against Oricorio or against Suicune in case they're playing Oricorio, because otherwise, yeah, you just have the option of turning it into a really long game that you end up losing because there's nothing you can really do when an Oricorio's in the active spot. Sure, you can Darkrai ping it, but I mean, they have Gyarados, so it's definitely not going to work out in your favor. The deck's a lot of fun, though. The deck is a lot of fun. There's not too much thinking going on besides, again, the bench lock thing or managing your bench so that a Suicune can't reach for a knockout on your Arceus if it comes to that. Maybe they were able to set up double Suicune in play before you got your Arceus up and going, and you just need to try to avoid the Arceus getting one shot in return. So do anything you can to avoid that scenario. And even this is a scary game right now, right? Because the Oricorio is kind of doing what I said of slowing me down enough. And the reason why I didn't go into Tyrogue earlier is because I need to make sure that my Arceus has 3 energy attached to it beforehand, because I am expecting a Mars to happen right now. When it goes back into my opponent's turn, I'm expecting a Mars, and then I'm going to have to... See, there's the Mars. There goes my entire hand. I'm going to need the damage modifiers, and if he doesn't have a Giant Cape, then just a bench Pokemon and my Darkrai Ping will do it. He gets the Giant Cape, though. I have the Smoochum. I don't believe I've played a damage modifier this turn, so there should be 4 of them in there. It's do or die this turn, at this point. At this point, my opponent has so few cards in his deck, he must have the Greninja, but there's the Giovanni. There it is. See, it's all you need. It's all you need is just a lot of damage modifiers and a lot of Pokemon. Boost that Arceus damage in any way you can. Yeah, very, very, very fun. I think it does good into Dark Tina. I've played a lot of Arceus Darkrai, and as long as you can get an Arceus set up pretty quickly, it's really tough for them. Really, really tough for them. And with the extra damage modifiers, like, even their Mars is not going to do a whole bunch against you because you're pretty likely to find that last damage modifier you need. And you see here, I'm going first, and I really don't want the Mantike on the bench, but I'm thinking if my opponent goes Repel and brings out the Arceus, it's so bad for me. Because like I was saying in the last game, I want to make sure that I have a Tyrogue in play for Suicune, because there's a lot more Suicune Oricorio going around, either with 2 copies or 1 copy. And when I see that X-Speed, I'm thinking, oh, dude, the Oricorio version plays the X-Speed. Oh, no. Oh, no. Because I'm going to need that Darkrai on the bench as well. I'm going to need it. Because if this Suicune gets a Giant Cape, like it just did, I will absolutely need that Darkrai to boost my damage potential on it. And now coming into this turn, I look at my opponent's hand. I top deck the red. That's very good. I look at my opponent's hand. I say he has 3 cards in his hand. There's no way those cards are Rare Candy, Greninja, Cyrus for my Darkrai. So let's put down the Darkrai. That way, if he wants to Mars this turn, it's not going to matter as much. I'm holding Knockout on Suicune in my hand. And as long as I don't see an Oricorio, I'm feeling pretty decent. So he's thinking. He's thinking. I don't know what he's thinking, but he's thinking. And he goes for the Crystal Waltz. Again, I'm feeling great. Now my bench is clear, so I would ideally want a Tyrogue here if I could, but I might just have to settle for Smoochum. But there's the Tyrogue, and now it's feeling amazing. Because if my opponent goes into Oricorio, it can't survive 2 Tyrogue attacks. And that's what it's going to need to live, which, yeah, it just probably won't. There's no way, unless my opponent's playing Double Cape and maybe Irida. I don't know if that even gets it there, but always think about what can make you lose when you're playing Pokemon Pocket. Always consider those variables. And he promotes Giratina. So I'm feeling extra good. Because there's no way, yeah, I just take a knockout on the Giratina. If he attaches and retreats into an Oricorio, he has no energy on board. It's all feeling very good, and we end up winning. If you guys could tell, I went on a rampage against Suicunes. Deck seems very, very good into it. Seems good into Darktina. Flareon, I don't think so, because they will be able to... I mean, unless you get lucky and you can take out an Eevee early or something, usually the way that matchup goes is they go Bite with Eevee and hope that they have a Flareon plus damage modifiers on their next turn to knock out your Arceus when it starts attacking. Usually doesn't go great for you. Maybe with the Tyrogue it's a little bit different, but Guzzlord as well. We can hit for 170, so that's nice, but the Guzzlord will be knocking out our baby Pokemon. I think it really just depends on how Grindcore flips go. Otherwise, like, it's possible. It's possible for sure. If they have a Rocky Helmet on the Guzzlord, then your Arceus will be in range, so it might be better to just go for a Snorlax angle against that deck and try to get, like, 6 energy on Snorlax before you send him up. And then you know there's no way a Guzzlord's going to knock it out, and you could fire off back-to-back attacks, but even that doesn't feel great. Guzzlord cannot be good. You would need the red play 2 times in a row to knock out back-to-back Guzzlords, and you don't have any Repels or Sabrinas to access that Celesteela at the end of the game. Hey, overall, the deck feels awesome. It's a lot of fun. You don't have to think. You're going to win fast. Hopefully, you'll go on some win streaks and gain points. Let me know what you guys think about it. Let me know if you've played it. Or if you play it, come back. Tell me how you did with it. That's going to be it. Make sure you subscribe. Like the video on the way out. See you on the next one.